keep it real with ya.
So, like, be real. Are you just trying to get some money out of this company that you've only been with for a few months? Like, do you really feel like you were discriminated against because of race, or do you just want to find out if you can get some money out of this company? Like, what's really good? And every comment who disagreed with her, her only response was, "Are you white?" And they'd be like, "Yeah," and then she'd be like, "Okay, exactly what I thought. All of y'all that are disagreeing with me, y'all are white. It's all white people that are disagreeing with me or that are not agreeing with me." And people were like, geez, like, seems like the issue is you. Like, you're getting real aggressive, and I hate to do it. I hate to say the word because you know how I hate that word. But people were being so nice and respectful, and the responses they were getting was, your opinion does not matter because you're white. I don't care what you have to say because you're white. Even somebody who wasn't white, but they were a person of color, but they weren't black, it was like, I don't care what you have to say because you're white. Doesn't matter what you say because you're white. You're white. You're white. You're white. Your opinion means nothing to me because you're white. Oh, you're saying that I wouldn't win a case? You're white. And I was just like, not helping yourself at all. But it really just seemed like they came to work at this company where they were the only black person, or the only black woman at least, and they just were not fitting in with the culture. And that not fitting in feeling that we tend to get a lot. Like, black people, we tend to get that a lot, but especially if you're in a place where there's a lot of white people, you tend to get that I don't fit in with these people vibe. That doesn't mean that they're racist. Like, you could go into a company that's full of white people and have a great time and be welcome and feel included and all of that stuff. You can go into a black company and be ostracized. I've had that experience. I've gone into black companies, been completely ostracized, singled out, disrespected, like, didn't fit in. The culture was not for me. But that doesn't mean that it is like racial discrimination just because don't feel like you're connecting with the people around you. Like, and I'm gonna let you guys tell me in the comments, like, if you feel like any of this does constitute some type of racial discrimination. Because what I explained, I made a comment to try and help her because she was not trying to hear nothing. It was dozens of comments that she was just immediately dismissing the second the person confirmed that they were a white person, which I felt like, oh, you're making yourself look bad. But I made a comment, and I hope it gets through to them as a black woman. I didn't say as a black woman, but I hope they get it from the way I'm talking, that I'm another black woman talking to them. So I hope that it gets through to them. From a legal perspective, nothing you are saying constitutes racial discrimination. Making a comment that your hair changes a lot when your hair does change a lot is just a comment. Now, could it feel some type of way? Yes. Will it hold up in court as racial discrimination? No. Saying that you and a new person, two new people, one black, one white, were made to do a certain task does not constitute you being singled out for racial discrimination. Um, Someone making a comment because they saw you eating chicken before and now you're eating fish, and then making a comment that, don't you usually eat chicken, could be some type of subconscious racial thing. But will it hold up in court? Absolutely not, because they did see you eat chicken before. And that's the biggest thing. When you look at this from a legal perspective, there's a lot of stuff that feels like it should be illegal, but it's not. And nothing they were saying came across as, this will hold up in a court of law and you can get money. I bet, and I told them in my comment, you're gonna have to go through EEOC. And what's gonna happen when you present this, if this is all you got to present, they are going to immediately dismiss your case. They will not investigate it, and they will give you what's called a right to sue, so that you can go and pay your own money to an expensive ass lawyer. Because remember, again, it costs tens of thousands of dollars to sue people directly in court. Um, and then you will have to go get a lawyer that's going to want to fight for you, which I feel like a lot of them won't, because it looks like a losing case. But if they are willing to take your money, they might tell you like, oh, it's going to be so many thousands of dollars in fees for me to represent you, they can represent you and take your money knowing that they won't win the case. And you could be out tens of thousands of dollars because you wanted a quick buck from the company. But that's what would likely happen. You would go into court and they would interrogate you, and your argument would fall apart because they couldn't justify anything. They couldn't successfully do the argument, argue like their case, right? And I'm saying, like, if you were in court, if you made it to court, first of all, I don't believe you would make it to court, but if you made it to court, your only argument to any type of pushback or interrogation cannot be you're white, so you don't get it. You cannot go stand in front of a judge and jury and say, if you don't agree with me, it's because you're white. You cannot say to a defendant or like the defendant's lawyer, the company's lawyer, you're only saying that because you're white. You are only doing this because you're white. Y'all are white and I'm black. So I don't want to hear anything you got to say. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to be declared uncooperative, and no one's going to take you seriously. No one's going to believe you because they're not going to think that you're a logical thinking person. So your testimony falls apart. You can't justify anything. You can't argue your point, and you will lose the case, and you'll be out thousands of dollars, and you will have embarrassed yourself. And there's one thing that I don't like is when people of color embarrass themselves on a large stage. We talk about all them people. We know the people we're talking about. We know some celebrities that have been embarrassing themselves a lot lately. And I hate it because I hate the ramifications of it. I hate the consequences of it because it comes down to us. You know, for every black person who goes to court, goes to trial, does a public lawsuit, acts a damn fool, loses the case. They're alleging racial discrimination. They have no good arguments. They have no good evidence. They lose the case. It just makes it harder for the next black person to argue their point. They're not going to be taken seriously. And that's the problem with all of this. And I even told them, I was like, look, I understand where you're coming from. I understand you feel different. You feel like you're not like everybody else. You feel ostracized. I know a part of that has to do with being a black woman in a white office. Um, Another part of it has to do with being a young black woman in an office full of older white people. I get how you feel, but how you feel and the law are different. There's a lot of things that we feel is wrong that is not illegal. You know, a toxic company culture is not illegal. And I had to learn that the hard way at another company, not my current one, but another company that I worked for. When I was like investigating and trying to figure out like what was illegal, the way they treated me technically wasn't illegal because discriminating against somebody because they're young is not a protected class. So being a toxic company was not legal. And being a toxic company in a hostile work environment is two different things from a legal standpoint. Um, it's easy to just say like they're treating me differently, therefore it must be illegal. But being treated differently is not inherently illegal. Um, and I was hoping that I could get through to them and help them understand that. But also like this story in a broader context reminds me of so many radical black people that I know who they lose sleep over the fact that racism exists. And for those who have chosen to fight the good fight, you know, I applaud them. I commend them for doing that. It's good that they want to be, you know, activists. They want to fight against racism in every area, but they have to take care of their mental health and they have to understand what the laws are. Now, if you understand the laws and you want to change the laws, that's great. You know, fight for that, push for that, you know. But to make, I don't know how to say this because the argument did come up where people were like, where she was arguing with somebody and she was doing the whole you're white, you're white, you're white, blah 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 blah. And the person was like, actually, I'm not even white. Um, but you could put that black card back in your purse, ma'am. And then you know, she's like, I don't even pull the race card, blah 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 blah. Yes, racism is systematic. Yes, racism is embedded in everything, especially if you live in a Western country like America. But does that mean that you can sue everybody over everything? Now, if you got buku dollars, if you got a lot of money, to where you could just throw out lawsuits here and there everywhere, then by all means, do you, boo. But this person does not sound like someone who has a lot of money. She sounds like someone who's trying to get money. And that should not be your motivation when wanting to fight racial discrimination in the workplace. Come on, say that. Say the Atlantic clause first. But like that should not be your motivation. Like, don't get me wrong, there are companies that are willing to pay to just, make stuff go away. But you have to have something. And if the EEOC is your best case of getting anything financial out of a company. That's for one. That's your best shot when it comes to discrimination. If they won't take it, then you have to go pay a lawyer to sue your company. And that's tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how long the case goes, could be over $100,000 that you don't have. Like some lawyers want that money up front. Some lawyers charge hundreds of dollars an hour. You know what I mean? Some lawyers will say, I'll take the case, but I want 40% of whatever you get out of it. And if the only thing they're willing to give you is $4,000, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got some money, but you wasted the last 2 years trying to fight a case that you didn't have a case. So, and I told her too, I was like, a good lawyer will be realistic and upfront with you and tell you that they can't argue this in court or that this won't stand up with the EEOC. A good lawyer will tell you that at that $300 consultation fee, but they'll tell you that. A bad lawyer will take that money and say, if you pay me, you know, $4,000, $5,000, I will file a racial discrimination charge with the EEOC for you. And then you pay them the money because they want it up front. They want that money. You pay them that money, and EEOC comes back the next day and says, "We're not investigating this. We're not even going to tell the company that you came to us about this. But sure, you can sue them separately if you want to." And you just lost $5,000, $5,300. You know what I mean? That's what a bad lawyer would do to you. So it's not worth it to look for things that aren't there. And I understand that when you, how do I say this? I've said this before in some of my videos about racism and being progressive and stuff like that. It's easy to become sensitive. And I know I hate it. I hate it, right? I hate to use the word sensitive. I hate the words to use the words aggressive. But some people did feel like in the comments, it's like, is it that you're sensitive to these type of comments? Are these type of comments triggering to you to where you may feel like it's more than what it is? Because sometimes people just say things that people don't say things thinking that it's offensive. Sometimes people say something that might be a little ignorant. Like, but I doubt that your coworker should have to think like she's black, so I can't bring up the fact that she ate chicken the other day. Is that where we want people to be? Like, I can't acknowledge that you ate chicken when I saw you eating chicken, or I'm trying to have a conversation with you, but I don't really know much about you because you're new. So I mentioned the fact that you brought home, you made chicken at home, you brought it to work, you made fish at home, you brought it to work, or your hair, changes, it looks different. Like, if that's all I know about you, because I think she also mentioned the fact that she don't really talk to anybody at work. Like, she's very quiet and keeps to herself. So it seems like they wouldn't know anything about her other than her appearance and what she ate because she don't talk to nobody. So it's just like, I understand you feeling isolated, but then you're also isolating yourself too because you're not interacting with your coworkers, which isn't which you don't have to interact with your coworkers. That's not the problem. But there's so many more explanations for what was happening in this situation than just I started this new job and they don't like me because I'm black. It's not gonna hold up in court, boo boo. It's not. And as someone who's had to study all of this shit because of all the stuff that I've been going through, it's unfortunate, but for them to be so, what's the word? Like, I know it's the word, but I don't want to use the word because I've already used a word that I don't like. I don't want to use another word that I don't like. But for you to dismiss everybody else who had an opinion on it, like you post something publicly asking for advice, you're asking the question, can I sue these people for racial discrimination? Here's my evidence. And people are like, oops, sorry. And people are like, no. And then you're like, well, you're white, so I don't care what you have to say about this. And somebody else is like, there's no legal, there's nothing you can do from a legal perspective here. Nothing you said shows illegality. Well, you're white, so it doesn't matter what you have to say. And then like to comment on their own post and be like I'm not like they're like people accuse them and they're like, yo, are you really just not gonna listen to anybody that's white on here? And they're like, well, I just feel like everybody who's disagreeing with me or telling me I don't have a case is white. That's a coincidence. Because I didn't see anybody in the comments who said you did have a case. I didn't see anybody in the comments who said, yes, this is racial discrimination. So if out of the 40 plus people who commented, everybody happened to be white or at least another person of color, but not black, that's just statistics. There are certain, communities that are overwhelmingly white online. That's just statistics. I came across it because I bounce around communities that are overwhelmingly white. I bounce around communities that are overwhelmingly white men. And so that's why I came across their post. I've posted before about, racial discrimination and I got my ass ate. Like I got eaten alive. Like they was just very disrespectful towards me. And they were very respectful towards this person for her to come back and be disrespectful towards them. It's not that I feel like your opinion doesn't matter if you're white. You still have a right to say what your opinion is if you're in a community and someone posts a public question about race. It's not that I want every white person to shut the fuck up if someone's talking about race. No, I want there to be a discourse. It's cool to be like, racism aside, we're talking about what the law is, and the law says this. That's totally valid thing to say, whether you're white or not. You can say that. And for her to be somebody who doesn't know the law, hasn't looked up the law, hasn't researched what are my options if I do feel like I'm being discriminated against based on race, and just to be like, can I sue them and get some money? People are going to say, yeah, it seems like you're just trying to make some money off a company that you've not even been with for a year because you feel like you're not fitting in. And I had told her in my comment, the best thing you can do in this situation is find a company where you feel comfortable. Find a company where you don't have to second guess everything that everyone is saying about you or like worry that someone's saying something because of your race. Because that's the real issue here. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel like you fit in with everybody else. You don't talk to your coworkers. You know, there's been a few times where they have wanted to interact with you and you didn't like it. And so I told her, I was like, you should find a place where you do like it. You do like the culture. You do feel comfortable, whether that's a company that has more diversity, whether that's a company that's mostly black people, wherever it is, find the place where you feel the best. Um, I will say any area that isn't diverse. And when I say diverse, I mean mixed in terms of races, genders, ethnic backgrounds, all of that. I don't want to work somewhere where my team is all black people. I don't want to work somewhere where my team is all white people. I don't. Um, so I know the type of culture that I want to be a part of now, and I know what I'm going to be looking for in my next role. But I feel like that's what this person is struggling with her being as young as she is. She just, this company was this like the second company she's worked for. So she's like, it's just not a good fit. Sometimes a company is just not a good fit. I feel like I look so fat in this thing. Um, but yeah, it's like I just worry sometimes that it's like these are very real issues that people face. Like people do actually face racial discrimination in the workplace. But when I feel like you have people like this who say everything is race, and everything isn't to an extent, but not every interaction is. So for them to blame all of this on race and then to want to sue the company and go like that whole route and to not be receptive to anybody's advice if they're white, chances are the lawyers in their area might all be white people too. Like the best lawyers in my area are white people. It is what it is. I just got to find a better white person. Um, but like you can't just base everything off race. Like there are some people who will say I'd rather have a black lawyer than a white lawyer. Okay, that's up to you. But is that black lawyer really better than that white lawyer in terms of experience and qualifications? Did you check that or did you just want a black person? People don't do that. They don't think like that. And that's like something that I'd be trying to call out. Like even with therapists, I was telling my friend the other day, she keeps choosing black therapists, young black therapists, old black therapists, ghetto black therapists, Erica Badu type black therapists. I don't know what you call them, Erica Badu types. But you can't just go off someone being black because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And we know that. And we say that. That's why that's a saying, right? People forget that. And they think that just because someone's black means they're going to agree with me on everything and they're going to be just like me. That's not the truth. Um but yeah, I've been talking forever cuz I'm sick and I'm having trouble getting my thoughts together. But I just want to say all of that stuff cuz I was saying it to myself anyway in my head. So I was like might as well make it a video and put out there and see what people think and what your opinions are. But let me just recap for the people who actually watched the whole video and then want to make a comment. Person, black woman post. She's young black woman, early 20s. Um, Second company she's ever worked for. She started a company a few months ago. It's all white people. She's the only black person, but she's not the only new person. And the evidence that she presented is her and another new person were made to do some busy work, basically, or some low level task. A coworker who saw her eating chicken before and now saw her eating fish made a comment about the fact that they, usually see her eating chicken. They don't always see what she eats. They don't eat with her every day, but one time they saw her, she was eating chicken, so they thought that that's what she was eating. Um, and then the other comment was that they made a comment about the fact that she changes her hair all the time, which she does, and that's okay. So Oh, and then the other one was she asked to work from home one day and her manager said yes, but said that she generally prefers that people work in the office. Okay. Those are her four examples of evidence. Do you believe this was racial discrimination or not? Do you believe that if you do believe this is racial discrimination, do you believe that it would hold up in court? Because she wants to know if she can sue them for money. You think she could sue them for money? Y'all let me know. Cause like, I mean, I have experience in HR. Um, I have experience being a victim of racial discrimination. I have experience, being the only black person in the room in a lot of situations. Um, and I've studied a lot of this stuff to know what is and what isn't illegal. So, but these are just my opinions. I'm not an official lawyer. I didn't go to law school. So, what are you guys' opinions? How do you feel about this situation? Let me know down in the comments. Like I always say, um, drink your water, eat food, take naps, and just love yourself because you deserve it and no one else is going to do it for you. I love you guys. I will see you next video. Bye.